Good afternoon. Great practice today. I've been watching you all from the beginning of the practice, and great job with finishing the practice a lot stronger than starting. I think that's really important, that especially as we go into the meet, we finish everything very strong. So finish the warm-up strong and finishing the meet strong, because the meet each session ends with relays. So I really want to make sure that we're very aggressive at the end of those swims. So I'm Ronako. I've been swimming for longer than some of y'all have been alive. So I started swimming for St. Lucia in either 2004, 2005. Peter was probably still swimming competitively at that time. His brother Marlon was also, and I actually remember faintly them also speaking, prepping us for the OECS championships, and so this is very sentimental for me. Can y'all hear me, everyone? So I'll speak a bit louder. So I don't know all of your names, and so you know my name. So feel free, please. Actually, I don't really have a lot of friends on this team, so feel free to say hello and let's talk, let's joke around, because I like to joke too. Not all seriousness with me. But also in this conversation, if you have a question or something or a comment that you really want to say or a question you really want to ask, put your hand up. I will definitely get to it at the end of the point I'm finishing or in that moment. But I really want it to be a conversation. So at the end of this conversation also, there are two main things that I really want to address. One, it really is the motivation for racing, the motivation for swimming and competing for St. Lucia. I think that's really important. And the second thing is really so that you can feel comfortable speaking to me, speaking to your coaches, speaking to the oldest persons on the team about anything really, about fun games, haha, but also about performing at the best. If that's something that you're very keen on doing over the next 2 weeks, and particularly during the championships. So as I said earlier, I've had a fairly long career, and those have ranged from swimming at the OECS level, swimming local meets here, swimming at the OECS level, swimming at the championships, and then also swimming at the world championships, and also at the collegiate level. One of the fantastic things that swimming has done for me, especially with the aggression that I've put into it, is that between my academics and my athletics, I've gotten over $200,000 in scholarship funds and financial aid because of my performance academically and athletically, right? Okay. So that's one point of motivation. You have a question?
What's the whatever level?
The collegiate level? Yes, so...
never mind, I didn't hear it, sorry.
That's okay, yeah, so for those of you who are wondering, so a significant amount of that money over the course of 6 years were during my 4 years during college. So if you're swimming fast enough, or if you're performing any athletic feat at a very high level, coaches will recruit you and want you to attend their university, so you can perform for them at a very high level. But a very important part of that is also performing at a very high level academically. And because of that, I was able to get scholarship funds during my collegiate, the 4 years during college. But also, after completing my CXC, I was able to go to boarding school for 2 years. And that is where I got a large amount of funds, because they paid my tuition because of a scholarship I applied to, where they funded my full tuition. So that was an amount of $40,000 per year. That's a big number, especially for parents. Maybe the younger ones might not quite grasp the nature of that. But then also the prestige of it adds a lot. And then also, as you go further along in your career, not just as an athlete, but as an academic or in your professional career, looking back on your performances, your employers, and also other persons that you will work with, it will really impress them, because it says that you're not just about the books, you're not just about work, but there's more to you. There's an aggression to you. You're a go-getter, and you can work hard. Probably the hardest part of college was managing my academics and my athletics. But looking back, after I stopped swimming, I realized that everything in life is a joke compared to doing my athletics and academics together. There were nights where I would go to bed at 2 o'clock in the morning and have to wake up at 5:30 in the morning for practice and then go to class, and that was that. My younger brother Jas, he's actually at university right now, and he's complaining because his entire weekend this weekend is taken up. He's had 2 tests this past week, 2 tests next week, but this weekend he had to leave his campus at 8 a.m. and he gets back to campus tomorrow on Sunday evening at 8 p.m. And this entire weekend that he could use for fun or studies is taken up by athletics. But that is the kind of prestige and the kind of aggression that if you're performing at a very high level, people will want you on their team. So those of you all who are probably in your later teenage years might be thinking about that. For those of you all who are a bit younger, what could really, I remember motivating me was actually just wanting to dominate my opponents. And that aggression that you can approach your swimming from a very young age can be a lot of fun, right? And especially as you go through the years, you see the same faces and you remember, wow, this person beat me last time, I'm not letting it happen again, right? And that's a very important thing to develop in your life skills, because sometimes life can be difficult. Sometimes there can be persons or events going on in your life that you can find very difficult. But it's important to really face it head on, face it with aggression, and really without being tied to the outcome. It's so important to be able to do your best, because if you don't do your best, you're really not going to come out with anything of significance, right? So those of you all who are fairly young, I remember looking back fondly. I actually remember my first OECS, and I think it was 2004. It was right here. I remember one event because one of my friends false started and we had to redo the race. It's funny the things you remember, but to this moment, some of them are my closest friends from other islands, St. Lucia, as well as Barbados and Grenada and Antigua, and so on. So those are probably two major points of motivation at different ages that you can take to perform at a very high level. For those of you all who are probably in the 11 to 12, 13 to 14 years now, this is really the time when you can think about getting really serious, because this is where you can really build a foundation for some long-term success. And these habits that you have to develop right now, it's not just training hard, it's really loving racing. And personally, that was something that I really struggled with. Because when you train really hard, I don't know, and any of y'all can chime in if you feel that y'all identify with this. When you train really, really hard, you're really looking for some results. And if you don't get those results, you feel a lot of disappointment. And it can be very, very difficult to manage that disappointment, to manage the expectations that you might get from yourself, your family, your country. And so one piece of advice that I have is really going back to that mantra, is that I have everything I need and I want the best. And that want takes it from fear of failure to a creativity, to a responsibility, to a hunger to perform at a very high level, right? And again, that's something that's worth inculcating into your psyche from about the 11 to 12, 13 to 14 years, because as you get into 15, 16, that's when things get very challenging. That's when the expectations start to develop, because that is when you can really go really far with your performance at the collegiate level, at the international level. Yeah, I think those are the couple of main points that I want to speak to. Any comments or questions? Yes. What's your name actually? Faden? What was my inspiration? That is a really good question. How old are you? You're 9. So I'll take it through the years. When I was 9, my biggest inspiration when I was 9 was actually that I was not very fast. That was actually it. And I was a bit embarrassed by it. And I wanted to beat my teammates. I wanted to beat persons from other islands. But as I got more mature, so going into 12-year-old and 13-year-old age, I just really wanted to be the best that I could be. And I started getting faster. So I got to travel a lot. I got to travel to Jamaica and throughout the Caribbean region. And then as I got into my later teenage years, it really became that I could perform at an international level. I could make things easier for my family. I could represent my country at a very high level. A lot of times I met a lot of persons competing internationally, but also particularly collegiate level, who didn't know us from the Caribbean could perform at that level. At my university, Brown University, it's an Ivy League institution, and so it's a college where it's very competitive to get in. And a lot of the persons that were in my classes didn't know that persons from the Caribbean could perform academically at the level I was performing at. And then adding in the athletic component, they were very impressed by that. And so I felt very proud because I was able to represent St. Lucia. And so the only thing is just a tourist destination that you go for holiday. There are a lot of people that can do fantastic things, a lot of very hardworking people, right? But I think that's a thing that will evolve as you get older. But it's very important that you figure that out as soon as possible. And it's okay for that to evolve. And honestly, we can continue speaking about this at practices during the week, but next weekend or any point in time, talk to me or your coaches or the older ones that you would like to speak to. Yeah? Did that answer your question? Anyone else?
What was it like swimming at a collegiate level?
It was very, very difficult. So I swam at the collegiate level for 2 years, and those 2 years were probably the hardest years of my life for a couple of reasons. As I said, the academics were hard, and the athletics were challenging because of the expectation that I just needed to perform every single meet, every single weekend for about a 3-month span. But if you want to get fast, that's what you have to do. In practices, you are required in practice to just perform at a very high level. So it's not just being your best twice a